Give it a moment. And
Good evening, and welcome to Grit Grown Here podcast, where character matters. Our crew tonight is me, David. I'm here in Annapolis with Gordon. Jim and Joanne are in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. Jim and Joanne, say hello.
Hello, hello.
And we were planning to have a guest, but his flight was delayed. So that's fine. We want to have a shout out, though, for Sammy and all the other new viewers that joined us last week. Welcome back, and please keep coming back. And we have a few new subscribers, too, so thank you very much. We appreciate that. Everybody, when you get a chance, hit the subscribe button. Doesn't cost you a thing, and it keeps us knowing that people are interested in what we do. Sammy, though, shared on YouTube chat last week that the person that he looks up to as being a person of good and true character is his brother Jonathan. So we want to thank Sammy for getting personal and being real and with everybody that was in the chat. We also want to cultivate a podcast where we're open and real. So we have a segment where we talk about what happened during the week, sort of a check-in. And does anybody have anything that was goofy, grit growing, or unusual happen to you during the week? If so, I'm all ears.
Well, I can say something that was unusual.
Okay.
I know I've said this before about I got in a play in Fiddler on the Roof.
Yeah.
And I actually did 2 dancing rehearsals, so like 6 hours, 3 and 3. And I never thought that I could physically do that. So
Wow,
I was
that's
kind of proud,
fantastic.
kind of happy about that.
Yeah.
nice.
Happy you're still walking. Yeah.
Okay, Gordon, anything?
Yeah. It's been another week for me, and always things happen. And there's been a lot of things happen. I'm still trying to figure it all out right now and trying to process it. But one thing I have found is I assume too much a lot of times. And I try
There's
to.
a saying about that, Gordon. Just
Yes,
want you to
yes,
know.
I know. It makes it, about
right,
it, blah
yeah.
blah blah out of me.
Yeah. Well, we want to put one on the scoreboard there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which one are you, Gordon?
I don't know.
Which one are you?
My team what or my team that? Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, that's something that's being part of many. There's I think a major whatever going on right now with me, and some bunch of stuff being real, and so I'm still trying to unpack it. We'll figure it out and report back.
Sounds good.
Of course, I didn't.
Yes.
You didn't.
Yes,
What?
indeed.
You didn't.
I didn't put myself on camera.
Oh,
there,
you didn't
but
put
whatever.
yourself on camera.
See,
But that's all right. I saw you.
Yeah. See, I'm running both things tonight, so I'm both running sound in this. So this is gonna be a wild ride.
Yeah, and that's the grit growing thing.
Yes, great rolling
I
right
was
there.
just going to say that's grit for sure.
Yeah, row.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Jim, got anything to
Could I,
share?
could I offer a gratitude that seems
Absolutely.
to come with grit? And it's not on my part. I probably told you I see some people to counsel them on the side that pastors pass to me, refer to me.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And been doing this for some time now. And Joanne and I also run a regeneration group down in Hagerstown, one of those churches.
Oh, yeah.
And I got to tell you, I've never been with a group of Christians who are more rough and tumble, come from crazier backgrounds, you name it. The
That's why we love
difficulties
them.
are there. And they are finding all the bugs and turning it all over to Christ and really finding that this is really helpful. And they've been through programs before. So I'm very, very grateful for that. Very grateful. They're getting places.
Good. That's wonderful.
Getting places like I've never heard.
Good.
Yeah.
So mine is grit growing this week.
All
I
right.
actually embarrassed the heck out of myself because of the assumptions that Gordon was talking about. Yeah, I did one of those. So my wife and I, we went to a Chinese restaurant. It's one of our favorite ones. We go, maybe 2-3 times a month. And we always enjoy the atmosphere there. The owners know us. We get welcomed in. It's like sort of Cheers. Everybody knows our name. So this man comes in and he sits in the booth behind us, and he is very loud. I mean, I turned around to see who the heck he was talking to with his voice booming the way it was. And he was on a telephone call.
Unexpected outcome detected.
Yes, oh boy, was it. So then he starts cussing like he's a sailor, and he's MFing this and MFing that, and in the middle of the restaurant. It's like, what is going on here? And, my wife looked at me a couple of times and she said, "Can you believe what this guy is doing there?" And I'm like, "No, I can't believe it. But if he keeps it up, I'm going to say something." No, don't say anything. That would be rude. And I said,
Don't be rude.
"Yeah, don't be rude." Right. The guy's already being rude, and I'm the one that's to blame.
There you go.
He MF'd his friend on the telephone for the last time, and I was seeing red. And so he was over my shoulder, so I turned to him and I said, "Really? Do you really have to cuss like that in a family restaurant? You're so loud that everybody in the restaurant can hear you." And he
Nicely
says,
done.
"Are you asking me to be quiet?" And I'm like, "I think I was pretty clear about what needs to happen. Are you asking me?"
You talking to me?
Basically.
You
But he
talking to
kept
me?
saying, "Are you asking me? Are you asking me? Are you asking me?" I mean, and I just didn't even address him anymore because I was like, okay, we're going to have a fight here, and the best thing I have is chopsticks.
Fight.
Yes.
I'll bet you they'd come to your rescue too.
Well, it gets better.
Oh, good.
Oh,
So my wife starts saying, "Look, sir, you don't understand. He was steaming over here because this has been going on. You coming to the restaurant, you were really loud, and it disturbed our dinner." And the guy says, "Well, I'm sorry about that." And so he apologizes to my wife, and he said, "Men can talk to each other and straighten things out." And I didn't turn around and look at him because I was like, I can't tell whether he's fishing or just what, and it's true. I could have been nicer. No question about that. Because I was just like, I was deriding him in scorn. That's what I was doing.
Ooh.
Well, I mean, it was like, really? Anyway, so that's what I was doing.
I would call that pulling him up. He had his head stuck somewhere.
True.
Rectal parts.
Yes.
I was going to say,
So-
put the one on the scoreboard for that.
Shh. The next thing I know,
We're not talking about the scoreboard.
he's hanging.
Yes,
Yeah,
smile.
he's hanging up from the guy that was on the telephone, and he gets real quiet behind me. And the next thing I know, he's standing at my table.
Uh-oh.
Roll.
So I look up at this big beefy guy, and I'm like, chopsticks are really not gonna make it, David.
Bring in chopsticks to a bigger fight.
Yeah, right. So he said to me, I was wrong. I was talking too loud, and I really shouldn't have been cussing like that. But I've known this guy for years and years, and he's having a problem, and I was trying to get through to him. But that's not an excuse, he says to me.
No.
I ruined your dinner, and I feel bad about it, so I went up front and paid for your dinner.
Oh, that's
Wow.
nice.
I looked at him like, really?
Ah,
That-
that explains
Unexpected
everything.
outcome detected.
Yeah, definitely unexpected. And I said, you don't have to do that. And I said, we're happy to pay for our dinner. And he said, you already have everything packed up to go. I ruined your dinner, so I paid for it. And I said, well, thank you very much. I reached out, I shook his hand, and I don't really recall anything specific that happened as he was leaving the table. But he went and he sat down behind us again, and we got up to leave, and I went over and I said, it's so unusual to find anybody that takes responsibility for the things that they've done. And I want to tell you, I'm very impressed with you. You did not have to buy our dinner, and I want to thank you. And I reached out and shook his hand, and I said, I'm sorry if I was a bit abrupt with you. And I felt like small as can be. And I thought I was totally in the right, you know. So, anyway, that was my grit growing experience and humbling experience.
Bold choice.
Yes.
Consequences pending.
Consequences, and I got the consequences right then and there. So I'm driving home from there, and all of a sudden I realize this would be a great guy to have on our podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Because talk about a man with character. So I called the restaurant, and I talked to the owner, and I said, hey, I'd like to talk to him. Would you please give him my number and tell him that I would love to talk to him? And she said, you want to talk now? I'm like, he's eating his dinner and I don't want to disturb his dinner. But if you could let him know, I definitely want to talk to him. And she said she would give my number to him, but he's never called back. So I don't have his number, so I can't call him.
Well, you did your thing, right? I mean, you followed what was being led to you, right? You did your part, right? That's what is the thing, you know.
Practically a bromance, man.
Oh yeah.
Really good.
Yeah, it didn't really start out that way now, did it?
Nope. That's really good.
Yep.
A lot of friends get made out of anger.
Yeah, really. It's true.
Get up
but
and start laughing.
you know, so many times we don't really understand what is truly happening. And we react based on our own personal experiences. And we read stuff that isn't necessarily there.
Right. Right.
And that unfortunately happened this morning, you know, because I've had a fun week. My niece, we're preparing for the burial of her dad, and she and her dad were estranged. And she asked me if she could sing a song at his funeral, and I said, absolutely, whatever you'd like to do. And I said, you know, the other thing is we want to play some music at the reception afterwards, and we would like to do music that my brother Cliff like. And so she really hasn't seen him in probably 25 years.
Oh my goodness.
So this was a month ago when he passed, and she said, I'll get it to you in a week or so. So a week or so goes, and I follow up with her, and another week or so goes, and I follow up with her, and she says, I'll have it to you Monday. And I said, well, that gives us a week, you know, to put all the songs together on a playlist. And I said, but my brother Phil has been working on that too, so we'll compare the two lists, and we'll make some decisions. And so she sends the playlist to my brother Phil, and his wife answers saying, you know, we already have a playlist, but we'll compare what you have and what we have, and we'll combine them. And but would you sing another song at the gravesite? Now, she took that as the song she wanted to sing can't be sung at the gravesite, and that was not what they asked.
Oh
They
dear.
said, Could you sing a particular song at the gravesite? Well, she said, this family is totally screwed up, and I'm not going to come. I will remember my father in my own special way. So that's what she said to my brother Phil and Karen.
Wow, it's rough, dude.
Yeah, and so and it's all texting. It's all text back.
The text.
Yes.
See, that right there is just the whole other angle.
Right.
Because the text, you just lose so much.
You lose intent.
It's so impersonal.
It is.
Right.
So I sent her. I tried to call her a couple times. You could tell that she blanked me off. And anyway, I finally sent her a text and said, "I just heard what happened. I can understand how you could be upset and disappointed. You don't need to be. I'm the one that makes the decisions. Give me a call. I'm inviting you to call me." So I got a text back that basically said, same thing as said to Phil and Karen.
Mm.
Not coming. I'll remember them in my own way.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's very sad. But
Mhm.
You did your part.
I did my part, but she's playing a victim.
Right.
And she's not a victim. She chose to be a victim.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of getting clarification on what the bones of contention are, she decided it was victimology time.
And I wondered too if she was just waiting for an opportunity to get away.
Oh,
Well, that is a possibility too. Thank you, Jim.
yeah, possibility.
Yeah.
Just wondering.
Mhm.
Looking for that excuse.
Yeah,
to-
because she was going to, in effect, meet the whole family as an adult.
And maybe she didn't want to.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
anyway,
Running
Choices.
is easier.
it really is. So,
until it catches up to you.
yeah. So, how do we develop that true character?
Oh, I love how you just slid it right there.
I just slid it right in on you, Gordon. Okay, you answer then. You voluntold.
Oh,
It's the way it works, Gordon.
Because
not my intent.
Squeaky wheel.
Well, I guess if you're going to make me volunteer myself or whatever.
Yes, I will.
So, for me, it's like, how do you get there? By doing.
Yes.
And I mean, it's going to be messy. It's going to be ugly.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll get things right. Sometimes you won't.
Yeah.
But you learn. Assuming that that's your goal.
Right.
If you're open to learning,
Yes.
that's a tricky part too.
Well, that is the tricky part. And as Jim, as you were saying, maybe she was looking for the escape route.
Escape hatch on aisle 42.
Hmm. I think, if I might, I think sometimes we overlook the fact that failure and harm, even between people, if it comes out okay in the end, ends up being a real character building tool
Yeah.
for the person. And particularly if they realize it
Yeah.
and they realize they're part in something, they can see how profound their thinking really is and how they affect everybody around them,
Mhm.
And I would hope that she could recover from this and that there could be such a discussion.
Well, I most certainly will reach out to her again, but I'm not going to accept the victim.
All right.
I'm not going to
Cool.
do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to say something to the effect that, the family would love to meet you.
Mm-hmm.
The family has missed you over the years. We would ask, how's things going? And, big families are messy.
Oh yeah.
They are messy. So if you want to be a part of a big family, you got to sometimes grin and bear it, but that builds character, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Those characters. Okay.
That builds character. And the benefits of that would be, if we can talk it out, she'll see that she read into the written communication things that were not necessarily there. I mean,
Yeah.
'cause my sister-in-law would never have offended her, ever. Never disrespect her. I can't see that in her way of being.
Hmm.
So, maybe we can inspire that growth.
Yes.
Try.
That to me, that's all you can do, right?
Right.
It's just like God with us, right? That, God can, God can lead us to something,
Yeah.
right? But he can lead us to that door. He can even open that door for us,
Right.
but we have to choose to enter said
Yeah.
door,
To go through it. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So pesky thing that free will is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, where does that true character come from, though? Is it already ingrained in us? Is it already a seed that we have to nurture? Joanne, any idea?
I don't know. I go with the everybody's a sinner thing, so we don't come from a negative instead of a positive, and we have to learn that true character. And I would say, people as I was growing up in church, especially learning what God says in the Bible, and then I had something to look to as a manual, so to speak. That's how, to me, that's how it happens. You start when your family starts, if whoever, maybe a teacher, whoever, really shows you what that means, what true character means, and then you go from there. Hopefully, a continuation.
But isn't the Bible full of characters
Oh yeah,
that developed true character as a
Mhm.
result of either their interface with God or their interface with prophets or their, I'm thinking very specifically about Moses,
good.
and
Mhm.
I mean, he comes from a pretty humble beginning, ends up getting raised in the Pharaoh's house, ends up killing a slave or no, not a guard, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And he in effect banishes himself, as far as I remember it, banishes himself out to the wilderness, to work on a farm of his wife's family. So he didn't want to own up and go back to Pharaoh. And God kept saying, "You're going to do that. You're going to do that." And he's like, "No, I can't even speak. I have a lisp. I can't do it."
Is it? Yeah, but what did God do there?
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, you.
No, I mean, participate in the story is what I'm trying to get you to do.
Oh, you're trying.
Yes, I want a little participation here, Jim and Joanne. And
Right here.
okay, well,
Right there, right there.
I'm going to volunteer you all of a sudden.
Well, but I think that's a great pivot point in the story, right? Because what does God do there? God removes the obstacle.
Yes.
He says, "Okay, you can't speak. You think you can't speak?" And because actually all along he could speak. Because look what happened later.
Yeah.
Right? But in that moment, he removes the obstacle and says, "Okay, here you go. Here's Aaron, right? Or Aaron,
Brother.
okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So here's this guy. He's going to help you. He can speak for you. And so it removes the obstacle.
Great.
So what do you got now? I'm giving you what you're asking for. I'm removing your obstacles. God's saying, what's stopping you now?
Well, how will the Pharaoh ever listen to me? No, but
Yeah.
that's where the 7 plagues come in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so God gifted him with these special talents, I guess. I don't know what to call it.
Just the staff thing, right?
Yeah. Well, the staff and the birds and the crickets and the...
Well, those were more messages. I mean, that was what God was going to do all along, right?
No. He told Pharaoh, if you don't let my people go.
Right, but God told him to tell him that.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what yeah.
Okay. I was missing you. I'm sorry.
Sorry, yeah, sorry. So God, so at that point too, I think that's another, great arc of this, that Moses then walks into this and, goes with God's direction, right? Listens to God, does what God says, tells him to do. Trust,
Right.
and that's a beautiful part of that story too, I think.
Oh, absolutely. But that building of in his character from within, because he has the confidence that God is with him.
Mm-hmm.
And, he pretty much gets told, you will do these things. You will tell Pharaoh. And Pharaoh will not listen to you until we kill the firstborn.
Yeah. And even then, he lets him go.
Yeah. But then he chases.
and then chases.
Yeah.
That's kind of goes back to what I was saying. That's how you learn as a kid. You hear the stories, and that helps you to see what character is, because if these are regular people in the Bible, they're not like some special group of people. They,
True.
and they're more like us than we would like care to admit, maybe. And that's how you learn, though. You learn from Moses because he didn't give up, or what, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think that also has something to do with learning it as you grow.
And some of them tried to run away in the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
depending.
Well, I mean, Jonah and the
Not
whale's a
me.
perfect example of
Yeah.
that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah, I'm
not
not
me.
going to
I'm not the
Nineveh.
one.
That's all there is to it. I'm just not doing it.
Right.
Yeah, well, who wants to go to Nineveh anyway?
Yeah.
But it's a place full. The place is crazy. A bunch of fish slappers.
Yep.
I bet
So
you
God
take
didn't mansplain him. He gave him a lesson.
Whales plane.
Whales planed him, yeah.
Oh, whale's play. Okay, there we
whales
go.
playing. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And then you get it. You got to listen to God.
And
Yeah.
in our hard-headedness, how often are we not following the word of God?
Always.
Right.
At least for me.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot to get it through this fixed skull.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm just agreeing with Gordon because his skull is really pretty thick.
Thank you for that.
I thought he was going to give me the patoom poom with the drum,
I
Oh,
could,
yeah.
but
he's doing other things right now. So, here we go. Oh, he's pressing the button.
Sounds like a war drum.
what?
Yeah.
There,
There
There
we
you
go. See,
go.
Very
now
much,
I'm feeling happy.
very
Isn't
much
that great?
delayed.
Yes, it's
Nicely
great.
done.
Yeah, a 20-second delay there.
Oh yes. So so as we build character in our lives, what do we get out of it? I mean, like as a person, if I remember so clearly, Rob used to say to us all the time, "Builds character, builds character. Anything
Ding,
that
ding.
happened, build character." And as the young people that we were working with Youth for Christ, they didn't understand what the benefits were of building character.
Right.
Mhm.
So how did we teach them what the benefits were?
Modeling is the biggest, of course.
Yes, but is that a benefit to them?
Well, it gives them information to choose what they want to do.
Yeah.
But
Back
did
to
they
the
see-
free
yeah.
will kind of
But
thing.
they know everything already.
Well,
Yeah, that's right. Yes,
regardless
they're at
of
that age.
regardless of what they think they know, they're seeing an effective leader in you. And the fact that you're an effective leader and you have everybody's best interest in mind gives them a lot of hope that, I could be that way too. And how did you do it? I need to know.
Well, when you were in the service, did you have leaders that were that good example and leaders that were not?
Well, I was never in the service, but I can tell you in the Bureau of Prisons, absolutely. And I'm
Yeah.
talking about every level of command. And there's some shining examples of wardens who did fantastic things, the leadership examples. During 9/11, for instance, I had a warden and was privileged to be able to work with him again in 2010. But uh, being able to stand up to criticism, being able to make tough decisions, very tough decisions quickly, knowing full well that you'll be Monday morning quarterbacked. And
Oh, yeah.
that's I respect that because a lot of people just want to defer, run, hide, ask somebody else, try to run up the chain of command. So far, the whole thing's over by the time you get your answer.
Yeah.
Sometimes you really got to stand up and make a good decision, and that takes a lot of character.
Mhm.
Yeah, the finger pointing, when people don't get their way, or
Mhm.
they're supposed to get something done, and the fingers get pointed. Well, I wasn't supposed to do that. So and so was.
Ah, that's weak. That's very weak.
When I
But
was a
you hear
manager,
it.
when I was a manager, that was one thing I always said. I wanted them to see that I would take responsibility, even if I didn't personally do that or didn't do that. If they were under me, I was their supervisor. So I take the responsibility, and I sometimes people don't expect that at all. They expect you to run too.
That really
Right.
builds respect too from people that you're supervising. It really does.
Yeah.
Admire that.
So the building of character, does that lead to a vibrant life? Would you call that a vibrant life?
If
Or
you
is
believe
it
that
is it a
people,
burden that you're
if
carrying around on your
if
shoulders?
you believe that people are trusting you and looking to you and loving what you bring into their lives, that is a vibration. Speaking of vibrant, that goes two ways really well, and that to me is the greatest thing, closest thing to love I know.
So can you expand on that a little bit? Because, well, I understand it in a work environment, but what about it in the home?
Help me here.
I'm
Dun,
not sure
dun, dun.
what part, like raising children, or I mean, I'm
Uh,
sure
the-
what.
I mean, just, you're a leader in your home.
Hmm.
Whether you're the mom or the dad, you're the leader in the home. And, you know, are the kids really watching? Are they, are you vibrant because the character in you is so well formed that the kids can't help but get it? Or are you trying to be the best friend of the kids and excuse away their bad behaviors?
I'm afraid I had the opposite effect. I remember one Easter, my daughter, I asked her what she wanted for Easter, and she said, "Daddy, I just don't, I want you not to be angry." And, you know, growing up, when somebody raised the roof, it was because they'd had enough and we
Yeah.
expected it from each
Yeah.
other,
Yeah.
Um, but raising the roof for her was a little hurtful, apparently.
Wow.
And uh, I had to really take stock of that. It meant a lot to learn that I had to do something about it. I really did. Instead of reacting, spilling, you know, shooting it all over everybody else.
Mm.
Um, got to take it. Got to do something else with it. Bury it. Do something. Make it safe.
But
And
is burying effective?
well, I don't mean really burying. I mean getting a shield up against it.
Oh,
Protecting others from it, even though it's in you, right? Even though the anger is in you, you've got to shield other people from it and find a way. Then find your way to Christ.
okay. Well, I'm trying to get to character and a vibrant life. Whether the
Well, the
how
answer that I was going to give you is I feel peaceful by it, which I don't know is kind of not vibrant, but it is. It's a very peaceful thing when you know this is my standard and this is how I'm going to behave. And when I do it the way I say I was going to do it, that's a peace that comes over
Mm-hmm.
me. So it helps me to have a calmer life, I guess, if that makes sense.
it does
Yeah, it does.
makes
Yeah,
wonderful sense.
I think that is a version of a vibrant life, right?
Yeah,
So maybe,
probably.
maybe is it instead of vibrant, is it thriving?
Well, it could be thriving, sure.
Right?
Yeah.
We are
Sure.
meant to, we are meant to thrive,
Yeah.
right?
Well, and Christ said he came to give us life in the fullest.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're following the direction that Christ has led us, especially through the Bible, um, and you work hard, it just seems like success automatically comes with that hard work. It doesn't necessarily come in the form that you always want it.
Right.
It doesn't mean,
Mhm.
wealth doesn't actually mean that you're successful.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know a lot of people that are very successful that can't run a household to save their
Mm-hmm.
life.
Yeah.
And I go in there and I'm like, oh my goodness gracious. Because I used to do home improvement, so I went into a lot of homes.
Just a few.
Just a few, yeah. So, so is success only measured in money?
No,
Or
no.
Okay, well, that was pretty direct there, Gordon. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, money is not everything, right? As the old adage goes,
Hmm.
right? It's there's all kinds of successes out there. It could be, I mean, okay, just random examples, right? You could be good, these people that are successful in sports. Of course, that does come with money too, but you know,
Yeah, it does.
so maybe not a good example,
Yeah.
but people that are, people that are doing the good works. I mean, what about the nurses and doctors and plumbers,
Yep.
Teachers, yeah.
teachers,
Teachers, yeah.
driving trucks. I mean, a lot of people can be
Mhm.
out there, and I mean, granted, a lot of these people are like, oh, I have to go to work. But there's a lot of people out there that say I get to go to work,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And that's a massive mind shift,
Hmm.
right?
Mhm.
And if you and that's part of, I think, of that piece you're talking about, Joanne, right? That
Yep.
if you're in that mindset where, okay, it's no longer oh no, I got to go off to work, I go, and turns into hi ho, I get to go to work, right? It's much better. That's success right there, I think, too,
Yeah.
right?
I agree.
That's you're thriving.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that's true. And when I think when we work, we're happier. I mean, regardless
Absolutely.
of what it is we do. I mean, some guys that are electricians, they're very happy they're electricians. They love doing what they do. They see purpose.
That's awesome, right?
Yeah.
They find reason in doing that work. It becomes a meaningful work.
And then success.
Connectedness.
Connectedness, absolutely.
Sorry.
Yes. And that doesn't have to do anything with money. They may just love the connect, the work, the connectedness and all those things. Just however much money they do or do not make.
Right.
It has nothing to do with the wealth there. In that case, I don't
Hard to give up.
Well, I hear the job of electricians have a charge.
Ah, I knew that was
Boom,
coming.
boom. Yeah, there
Where's
we
that?
go. I just did that to you.
There you
Ah,
go.
open that door.
Yeah. So, because we seem to be in agreement here that if you love what you do work-wise, whether it's physical labor or just mental labor, or some people just write books, some people do. I mean, there's so many jobs out there for people that if you love that kind of work, that success is most likely going to come your way, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, and I mean, you could be an offer that, or anybody, you don't have much of a following or whatever, or but you're still doing a job you like doing, and that's what matters.
Yes.
It's really, to me, it's and to me, it's about where God wants you and following God,
Right.
right? Whatever,
Yes.
if as long as you're doing that, it's that's what matters.
Yeah.
Right. Because and you're going to be happier.
And the only
And I think
time. Go ahead.
oops, sorry again.
No, go ahead.
When so many people will say when they retire, oh, I can't think of anything to do. And either they're so bored or they're whatever. And I'm thinking, work isn't just money. And so like volunteering, we do so much stuff. We're in a lot of projects and things like that, like this podcast, for example. And it has
It's a
nothing to
play.
do with the money, but I can be fulfilled.
Yeah.
And just being not going to get a paycheck doesn't mean that I'm not contributing.
Contributing.
Well,
yeah.
we're not being paid for this.
I'm not. I don't know if you are. Maybe you get something under the
Did they
table.
cut you a check yet, Gordon?
No,
They haven't cut me a check, and I'm the treasurer. That's rough,
I thought you were the president. Okay.
No, that's Mr. Rob.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's somebody told me once that the only time success comes before work is in the dictionary. Yeah. But
Very good. Very good.
But
I like
it is true. You must work hard to be successful. And the people who are given, like they inherit all kinds of money. They inherit a job, that works in the family firm. They don't have the appreciation for everything that it takes to be that successful person and know how to be responsible with the money, know how to be responsible to the employees that you might have. They tend to come from a more self-centered point of view because they haven't had to work for it. But
Well, that
for
comes back to their parenting. I'm sorry, the parent can instill that in that person, in that child. Other, doesn't matter about the money again.
right,
If that person wants to, that child to have those kind of qualities, then he's got to be there for that kid and show him what good character is.
right. But if he doesn't work at it, it's not going to develop instantly.
Mm.
No,
Right. And
but I don't think it does instantly anyway.
it never
Does
does
it?
instantly. No.
Well, there is such a thing as setting up for success. And I'm borrowing that term from my early training. You know, very often we get in relationships or discussions with people, and you know, on the surface or legally or with your words or what you say is your intent, you're coming across well, but you're really setting the other person up to fail.
Mm.
And you see this in families, you see it in business relations, you see it all over the place, even just putting people down. But if you're genuinely intending to set the person up for success, you've really got it going on.
Yeah, it's about that, and isn't that part of character too? The intent.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Right.
You always lead with intent.
Right. And with the development of true character, what does that do for our society and for your humanity? Because what I see on the political spectrum is there's not a lot of character that's been developed in some of these folks that are making the rules for us.
Mm-hmm.
And we just saw a lady in Congress just have to resign her seat because she somehow made $5 million by diverting the money from the intended purpose and putting it in either her own account or his bank account. I'm not really sure which one. But she was a Florida Congress person.
And imagine there'll be a lot of that before it's over.
Yeah, but then we also had the two guys who were running around going to, I guess, international brothels without their families, obviously. And they both just stepped down from Congress because they didn't know how to treat people correctly. And so their character is what ended up being on display. And because they didn't come with good character, in effect, society shamed them, and we asked them to leave Congress as a result, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
But how many more people are there in Congress who are doing things and they just don't get caught? When I first found out, this was years ago, that there is actually a taxpayer funded fund for Congress people who have sexual harassment charges on them.
right,
We pay out of our tax dollars to make sure that nobody knows about that.
right.
And that just really infuriated me when I heard that. It's because obviously they don't have the character to do it themselves. So, but we are just going to shove it under the rug, pay them the person some money, and go on. And that
But in order to
teaches
do
them that they're
that,
going to get.
but in order to do that, in order to create that fund, didn't all of the Congress people have to vote for that to be able to
Sure.
spend that money?
I'm pretty sure.
They don't. I suppose so.
They had to get it
Yeah.
out of committee at least.
Right. So, I mean, then it's like, what does that say about the character of all those people that are self-serving themselves?
Well, they say most of they'll have lists of Congress people who they're millionaires, trillionaires, and they were barbers when they left, when they came to Congress or whatever. And that's all self-serving. Where does
Yeah.
that money come from? You know what I mean? If you're doing your civic duty, you just go there and you do it for the price, the money that they're giving you and then that's it. Not, I'm going to take $1 million from this person and $1 million, and oh boy, I can get my fingers into that pot of money over there and just grab a couple million there. It worries me that there are so many now who don't even understand what good character is.
Right.
And, our world suffers for it, but I think we can keep pushing forward to get more people to understand.
So
And do
that
you,
almost
I,
makes us go full circle back to how do we develop good character, and is it something that's taught?
well, I'm sorry, I got to jump in. If you're taught to worship money, your whole life is going to be following that. And
True.
I think some kids are taught to worship money, not just success, not just doing well, not just contributing to society, but money alone and being measured accordingly. It's their god, and very easy for them to give up any social contract, any caring, any empathy whatsoever, just so they have that.
So and I'm agreeing with you 100%, but what does that do to a society in 10 years, in 40 years, in 100 years?
Destroys it. Yeah, it's a cancer.
Yes.
So that's why character matters.
There you
Yeah.
go.
And
Well done.
yes.
Dave
So
brought it together.
yeah, so we've come to the end of our time together, and we want you to understand that you can comment on YouTube or on Twitch, or you can email me at d.mayer, M-A-I-E-R, at truecharactermatters.org. And I would love to get something from you. I'll respond. That's a guarantee. And we'll see what we can do about helping you understand the nature of true character and how we can work and walk along beside you. We want to invite you to come back next week and invite you to share this topic as well as the things that you've heard with your friends and your neighbors, and invite them to join us as well every Thursday, 6:45, right here. Thank you so much. Good night.
Good night. Wrong button.
Oh, are we doing the part where we everybody in the